So, this research process has been extremely interesting for me, and I've collected a couple of main takeaways. First, local redistricting still heavily involves politicians and is certainly not independent. This directly contradicts my previous understanding of the redistricting process in California. I originally believed that the local redistricting followed the same procedure as state and counties. Given the establishment of the California Citizens Redistricting Commission, I assumed that local redistricting was also independent. Clearly, it's not. Upon further research, I've discovered that Los Angeles has a very broken and contentious redistricting system, one in which local politicians essentially get to pick and choose who makes the updated maps, and these local politicians get the final say in the redrawn maps. This ultimately provides local politicians with the power to choose their voters instead of the other way around. This is the antithesis of democracy because voters should be the ones choosing their leaders. It's quite surprising to me that Los Angeles has not yet moved on to an independent redistricting process since it is widely perceived to be a progressive city. I suppose it simply speaks to the corruption that lies deep within the heart of the city's politics. So another one of my main takeaways is that the history of Koreatown is tied extremely closely to race, and race continues to matter a lot in the area. Diplomatic relations, racial covenants, and racial tensions have always dictated and influenced the area and its residents. Beforehand, I did not realize the depth of minority-on-minority conflict. Its relationship with Black residents of Los Angeles can also be connected to the racist comments made in the leaked recording. Further, one of the most interesting things about Koreatown is that it is now majority Latino, reflecting changing demographics in Los Angeles and providing an explanation to the politicians' inexcusable crude comments and plotting. The Latino politicians in the recording clearly desired to keep their power and felt entitled to their power. This logically follows given the extreme growth of the Latino population. So I believe that I've pretty sufficiently addressed one of my research questions, which was what is the redistricting process in Los Angeles? As for another one of my research questions, what fueled the politicians' anger about redistricting, the changing Latino demographics lie at the heart of the answer. The Latino population is experiencing extreme growth in Los Angeles and its region, but Latinos continue to be underrepresented in local politics. While still inexcusable, this offers an explanations for the politicians' frustration and angry, racist, and crude comments. Each of the four main politicians involved in the scandal identify as Latino. They expressed major frustration over the proposed maps by the Redistricting Commission, which would threaten their power. Their meeting revolved around their desire to maintain and grow the political power they have. My third research question asked why Koreatown was such a key part of their discussion and what its past is. I believe I've also sufficiently addressed the area's past. Koreatown was such an important part of this discussion because the area, like I said, is now majority Latino, but the proposed map did not include Koreatown in their districts in a manner they thought was proportional. Ultimately, Latino demographics are changing in Los Angeles, and this incident reflects tension over these changes. So learning about this certainly changed the way I think about redistricting and political powers involved in the census and redistricting processes at the local, state, and national level. Redistricting is such an important factor in urban planning and how our cities work, and it's very easy to overlook or forget since it has semi-low visibility compared to other well-known policies and practices. It also reminded me that although processes may be standardized in one way at the state/county level, it doesn't necessarily apply to the local level, which I find kind of strange. This research additionally served as a reminder that Los Angeles is a complicated city. It is the city of dreams for many, but at its core still lies a lot of political corruption, deception, racism, and discrimination, even among some of our highest serving public officials. As for things I'd still like to learn, I would still like to further explore the Latino presence in Koreatown and the pressure that nonprofits are placing upon localities to make redistricting independent. I'd also like to explore why Council Member Kevin De Leon refuses to step down, and I'm curious as to how that will pan out as time passes. I'd also like to learn about who De Leon is and what his role has been in local politics. Overall, exploring this project has been extremely interesting for me, especially considering the themes we discuss in class. In lecture and in discussion, one of the major themes we've discussed is who is in the room and who is excluded from that elite space. This is certainly Exhibit A of the elite room discussion. These politicians were in the room and the actual residents were excluded. We've also often discussed how the demographics are changing in Los Angeles and the growth of the Latino population, which is a central factor in this scandal. Finally, in class we've discussed how certain races and ethnicities are framed as undesirable, In this scandal, there are multiple instances of this, with Martinez's comment about Oaxacans being one of them.